Let me show you something. I'm trying to find that verse. Give me just 1 second. John chapter 5. I do apologize for that lull, maybe to give you a moment to just think about some things. So John chapter 5, look at this. John chapter 5. John 5:45. Look at what Jesus says. So Jesus says he's the one who's to whom judgment is committed, right? But how is he going to carry out this judgment? Okay, let's begin here. The Father who sent me has himself borne witness about me. His voice you have never heard. His form you have never seen. And you do not have his word abiding in you, for you do not believe the one whom he has sent. You search the scriptures because you think in them you have eternal life. And it is they that bear witness about me. Yet you refuse to come to me that you may have life. I do not receive glory from people, but I know that you do not have the love of God within you. Verse 43. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, you will receive him. How can you believe when you receive glory from one another and do not seek the glory that comes from the only God? Do not think, watch this, do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moses, on whom you have set your hope. For if you believed Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote of me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words? So Jesus says, I'm going to come and judge people. So the judgment seat of Christ. What law will you use, Jesus, to judge people? Well, the law of Moses. The law of Moses. But if Jesus is judging people based on the law of Moses, then does it not necessitate that the law of Moses should be given to all people? But in fact, the law of Moses is not given to all people. The law of Moses is only given to Israel, Jerusalem, and Judah. So therefore, when Jesus comes to judge, therefore he must judge Judah and Jerusalem primarily. And that's what Matthew chapter 16 tells you. Did I have it open? I think I did somewhere. Matthew 16, there it is. So look at what he says. For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father. Then he will judge, repay each person according to what he has done. And he says, I'm going to judge them according to Moses. Truly, I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So when is the judgment taking place, Jesus? There are some standing here who will not have died before I come to execute the judgment. This is so critically important because you have to understand that in both Matthew 10 and Matthew 16, Jesus is declaring the timing of the judgment. When he says that both soul and body were to be destroyed at Gehenna, what is called hell today, he also specifies when that was to happen. Gehenna is in Jerusalem, has always been in Jerusalem. But Gehenna was only designated as a place of judgment for the Old Covenant people. Gehenna can only execute the judgment of Old Covenant people because Gehenna is located in Jerusalem, in Israel. Jeremiah chapter number 7. This Gehenna is the valley of Hinnom. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when it will no more be called Tophet or the valley of the son of Hinnom, Gehenna, but the valley of slaughter, hell. That's why even today is called hell. So there is something interestingly true about the fact that the translators and Christian doctrine has completely obscured Gehenna from the scriptures, fulfilling Jeremiah 7. The fact that today people think about hell and they don't think that hell is Gehenna is a fulfillment itself of Jeremiah chapter 7. Because it said it will no longer be called the valley of Hinnom, it will be called the valley of slaughter, hell. Because when people think about hell, they think about a place of utter destruction. And there is a truth to that. But these thoughts are not consistent with what Jesus is talking about. Jesus is not talking about a place where people are tormented forever and ever 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 without end. Jesus is talking about a place where a judgment is executed that is so extraordinarily profound and horrific that its effect will last forever. Its effect will last forever. It was one final judgment in this place. The dead bodies of these people will be food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the earth. None will frighten them away. In fact, the angels will be inviting the birds to come and eat. And I will silence in the cities of Judah. That's where Gehenna is found. And the streets of Jerusalem. That's where Gehenna is particularly found. The voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride will be found no more in that city. For the land shall become a waste. So Ricky asks, so Gehenna is not the lake of fire? Gehenna is the lake of fire. Ricky, watch. Okay, let me walk with you here. So it's time for questions, by the way. I'm not going to go into, there are many other scriptures I could show you, but it's time for questions. So Ricky is asking the first one. So he says, so Gehenna is not the lake of fire? Gehenna is the lake of fire. Now watch this. I just read for you in Jeremiah 7. I'm going to show it to you again. What is going to happen on the day of judgment? The dead bodies of these people will be food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the earth. None will frighten them away, and I will silence in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem. So what is happening here in verse 33? It is people's flesh being eaten by birds. When is the first time, Ricky, let me test your knowledge here, or anyone, when is the first time in the Bible that the terminology lake of fire, when is the first time that lake of fire is used in the Bible? In that exact sequence, lake of fire. When is the first time that any writer of scripture calls a place lake of fire? Chapter and verse, please. For the sake of time, let me give it to you. It's Revelation 19. The lake of fire is alluded to for the very first time. And if I'm wrong, it's probably in the earlier chapters of Revelation, but I believe the lake of fire appears the first time in Revelation 19. Watch. Revelation 19. Lake of fire. The very first time. So, let's read from verse 17 to the end. So I saw an angel standing in the sun. And with a loud voice, he called to the birds that fly directly overhead. Why is he calling the birds? This angel. Come, gather for the great supper of God. God has prepared a supper for you. I'm going to lay a table for you. You're going to eat. What I'm going to give you on this table, I want you to eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of captains, the flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses, the flesh of their riders, the flesh of all men, both free and slave, both small and great. So far, Ricky, because I want us to go together, is that the fulfillment of Jeremiah 7:33? Is Revelation 19:18 a direct fulfillment of Jeremiah 7:33? And the dead bodies of these people will be food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the earth, and none will frighten them away. There will be no rescue. Revelation, come gather for the great supper of God. The reason why nobody can frighten them away is because it's God who is laying out this feast for the birds of the air. Eat the flesh of captains, kings, flesh of mighty men, flesh of horses, their riders, the flesh of all men, both free and slave, both small and great. And I saw the beasts. I saw the beasts. And the kings of the earth. So the beasts and the kings of the earth. What did we see in Jeremiah 7? There will be food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the earth. Notice in Revelation 19, you have the beasts and the earth in the same statement. With their armies, they were gathered to make war against him who was sitting on the horse in this event of the birds eating the flesh of people. And the beasts of the earth was captured, and with it the false prophet who in its presence had done signs by which he deceived those who had received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped his image. These two, where were they thrown? Were they thrown? These two were thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. So, is Revelation 19 a direct fulfillment of Jeremiah 7? Yes, because Jesus came to fulfill the law and the prophets. And the prophets that he is fulfilling, or the prophet that is fulfilling in Revelation 19 is Jeremiah. So Jesus, see, Revelation tells you he's coming soon. He's coming soon. To do what? When he says he's coming in Revelation 1:7, he's coming and every eye will see him. What is he coming to do? Is he coming to bring them candy? Is he coming to give us all limousines and big houses? No. Revelation is the coming of the Lord to fulfill the law and the prophets. For in Matthew 5, he had said, until heaven and earth pass away, not a single jot of the law will pass away until all of it is fulfilled. So therefore, when in Revelation 21, you get to a place where it says, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, it comes after the judgment of Revelation 20. Because the judgment of Revelation 20 is based upon the law. He's fulfilling the law and the prophets. Do you see that? So therefore, where is the lake of fire? I'm going to let you guys think this through. Where is the lake of fire? These two, so the beasts and let's go back to verse 19. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth, the ones whose flesh is eaten by the birds. I saw them, so this is before their flesh is eaten. They were gathered with their armies to make war against him who was sitting on the horse and against his army. And the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet, who in its presence had done the signs by which he deceived those who had received the mark of the beast of the earth, and those who had worshipped its image. These two were thrown alive into the lake that burns with fire, the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. And the rest was slain by the sword that came from the mouth of him who was sitting on the horse, and all the birds were gorged with their flesh. So I asked the question, where is the lake of fire located? It's a simple answer. It is so simple, everybody should be typing quickly. Let me first. I know where it's located. I know exactly where it's located. It's not in heaven. It's not in the underworld. It's not in Russia. It's not in New York. It's not in Nairobi. Where is the lake of fire located, particularly geographically? It tells you right here. It tells you right here. I'm going to begin here at verse 30. For the sons of Judah have done evil in my sight, declares the Lord. They have set their detestable things in the house that is called by my name to defile it, and they have built the high places of Tophet, which is the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire. So why? Oh, my goodness. Nobody has answered yet? Surely somebody has connected it so far. So the reason why there is a great judgment, yes, the lake of fire is Gehenna. The lake of fire is Gehenna. Why is it the lake of fire? Because the reason why it's a lake of fire is not because God enjoys fire. It is not because God wants to burn anyone. It is because, let me tell you why it is a lake of fire. Because in the law of Moses, which is not the law made by Moses, but rather the law of God through Moses, in the law, the principle is this, always, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, murder for murder. You receive exactly what you put out, no more, no less. This is the law. So when God comes to execute the final judgment under the law of Moses, oh, I hope you will get this because this will bless you. He must do to the wicked what they did to the innocent. It's simply a fulfillment of the law. So what did the wicked do at Gehenna? What did the wicked do at Gehenna? This is what the wicked did. And they have built up altars, high places of Topheth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, Gehenna, to burn their sons and their daughters in fire. This was the crime. So if the law says that what you did is what must be done to you, then what must happen to these wicked people? They must be burnt at the same exact place, at Gehenna. This is where the lake of fire comes from. Which I did not command, nor did it come to my mind. I keep coming back to this statement. God has never envisioned burning people. So therefore, to even imagine that God will burn people forever and ever and ever, when he says, it has never crossed my mind, it has never come to my mind to burn my own people, it has never come to my mind. See, this is one of the problems with the doctrine of eternal conscious torment. Because eternal conscious torment envisions God the Father burning his own children that he created for himself forever and ever 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 and ever. God says, it has never crossed my mind. So whose mind did it cross to burn people? I can tell you whose mind it crossed. First of all, the Old Testament wicked kings of Judah. The Old Testament wicked kings of the nations. So whoever ever did a human sacrifice, burning them on a pyre, that's human imagination. Also, unfortunately, the church fathers in the 2nd century and the 3rd century and the 4th century. Oh, and the 5th century, 6th, 7th, and the 21st century. The Christian church has envisioned God the Father burning people forever and ever, just like the kings of Judah did. God says, never cross my mind. And in any case, when there is any burning of anyone's body, it is because they belong to a covenant which they chose, which they insisted upon, that they can keep it. Even though they were told, if you choose this covenant, it will totally destroy you, because whatever you do will be done to you. So you'll be doing it to yourselves. It's not me. Notice Jesus in John, I don't know if I still have it up there. I don't know. Yeah, in John. What did Jesus say? I do not accuse you. Do not think I will accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moses, on whom you have set your hope. For if you believe Moses, you would believe me, because he wrote of me. I will not accuse you. So the accusation is at the court, is at the judgment. So how are people judged in Revelation 20? According to what is written in the books. So the very first time that the lake of fire appears in the Bible, it is in fulfillment of Jeremiah 7. Revelation 19, Revelation 18, I've already shown, is a direct verbatim fulfillment of Jeremiah 7. Revelation 19, I've shown you just now, is a verbatim direct fulfillment of Jeremiah 7. Therefore, when you get to Revelation 20, and now you are dealing with the lake of fire in Revelation 20, it is not a different lake of fire in Revelation 20. It is the same lake of fire here in Revelation 20, starting verse 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him who was seated on it. From his presence, earth, heaven, and earth, or sky and earth, rather, heaven and earth, fled away. That's Israel. And no place was found for them, for Israel. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. Which books were opened? Have you ever asked yourself that? Which books were opened at the final judgment of Revelation 20? Which books exactly? I was taught when I was growing up that there is an angel who is always standing at your shoulder, and a demon who is standing on your other shoulder, always telling you. But the angel has a little book. How many were taught this fantastical, cartoonish doctrine that is not based on scripture? And this angel follows you and writes down everything you do, everything you think, everything you say. Even as a Christian, I was taught this as a Christian. There's an angel always recording everything you do. There are books. You have thousands of books on you. And on the day of judgment, I was taught, your books will be opened. And everything you have ever said, everything you have ever thought, everything you have ever done will be used to judge you. How many of you have it's a cartoonish doctrine. It is not in the Bible. Because the Bible only depends on the Bible. And God authorized certain things to be written by Moses. They are called the Pentateuch, the books of the law. Because when you go into a courtroom, the judge does not use videos of you to convict you. He may use it as evidence against you, but once he's shown videos of you and all that you did in destroying this property or do that, or videos of you speeding and killing people, then he says, okay, now I've seen the evidence. Now let me go to the books of the law, the code. And I'm going to judge you according to the code. If the code says you're supposed to get probation, I'll give you probation. If the code says you're supposed to spend a month in jail, you're going to jail. If the code says I must throw you in jail and throw away the key, you're going to jail for life. If the code says you must be executed, I'm going to execute you according to what is written in the books. Then another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged by what was written in the books of the law, according to what they had done. It's a judgment under the old covenant law of Moses. I do not accuse you. I do not accuse you, Jesus says. On the judgment day, I do not accuse you. Moses accuses you. But do you see, this is why, now when you understand the Bible in context, so that's why the final judgment had to take place in the first century. Because the old covenant under which Jesus died is the basis of judgment. But if the old covenant ends and is no more, then it cannot be used for judgment. So the judgment must take place while the old covenant is in force. And you know that the old covenant is in force because the temple is still standing, the sacrifices are still going on, the Levitical order is still serving, animal sacrifices are still going forth, synagogues are all over the Roman Empire, and the apostles themselves are keeping the law. Not even allowing women to be pastors, because the law would not allow the women to be pastors at that time. So in AD 70, the final judgment of the law takes place in Jerusalem, and Josephus, the Jewish writer who is not a Christian whatsoever, writes to us that the death of the Israelites inside Jerusalem was so enormously huge within the 5 months of the siege that is described in Jeremiah 19, that more than 600 people needed to be buried every day, every single day in the small city of Jerusalem. And at some point, they ran out of burial places within Jerusalem. And so they resorted to wrapping the bodies in cloths and swinging the bodies over the wall into Gehenna. And so by the time the siege was over, there were more than close to 1 million bodies of Israelites at Gehenna, rotting. A million bodies of human beings thrown into the same valley, thrown into the same hole within a period of 5 months, because there was no place to bury inside the city. Josephus reports that it was so horrendous that they could not deal with as many people as were dying daily, that when you walked in the streets of Jerusalem, you had to walk over a body. You could not walk 3 steps without stepping over a body. That's how many bodies there were. Putrid, smelling, rotting, decaying in the holy city for 5 months. Oh, 5 months is found in Revelation chapter 10. Revelation is about the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. So, Matthew 16 says, "For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay to each person according to what he has done. Truly, I say to you, there are some standing here who will not die until they see this event happening." It was going to happen in the lifetime of the apostles. And if you are to say, "I am not sure that I believe you," I'll just take it over to Matthew 23. And again, I'll show you verse number 29 rather. "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You build the tombs of the prophets. You add and you decorate the monuments of the righteous, saying, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have joined them in shedding the blood of the prophets. Thus you witness against yourselves that you are the sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of your fathers, you serpents, you brood of vipers. How are you going to escape being sentenced to Gehenna?" The word hell every single time is Gehenna. Do you see how great a disservice has been done to us as Christians by mistranslating the word Gehenna into hell? Because the word hell is a totally different concept in your mind from Jeremiah 7. You never will read the word hell, or you never tell somebody, "Go to hell," and you mean go to Gehenna. You would never tell somebody, "Go to Gehenna," would you? If you're mad at them. You would never tell your children, "If you don't obey me, you are going to go to Gehenna." You would never say that to your children, because the Gehenna is a valley of the son of Hinnom. It's outside Jerusalem. But if you are an Israelite, who knew Jeremiah 7 and who knew Jeremiah 19, you would tell your children that. If you are an Israelite. Because God had said in his scriptures, people will burn in Gehenna, people will die in Gehenna, people's bodies will be destroyed in Gehenna, people's bodies will be eaten by birds in Gehenna. So the people of Israel would have been telling their children, "You better be careful, you better be faithful, you better be obedient, or you are going to end up in Gehenna." Because Gehenna was the final place of judgment in the Old Testament, under the Old Testament law. And eyewitness reports from Josephus tell us that's exactly what happened between 66 and 70 AD, when the judgment was actually executed during the lifetime of his disciples. So what does Jesus say here? He says, "Therefore I send you prophets and wise men, scribes, some of whom you will kill and crucify. Some you will flog in your synagogues," Jewish places of worship, "and persecute from town to town," towns of Israel. Remember, he's telling the Pharisees they will persecute people from town to town. So how are the Pharisees going to persecute from people? Because it's where they are, in their towns. "So that on you, Pharisees, Sadducees, scribes, on you may come all the righteous blood shed on the land." not in the planet, on the land.